Cleaning up your tobacco-stained teeth, now's the time to buy Topol Smoker's Tooth Polish. For a limited time only, you can get a cash refund by mail on specially marked packages of Topol, mint or fluoride. Topol is especially formulated to help remove ugly yellow tobacco stains, yet it cleans gently enough to be used every day instead of regular toothpaste. So buy Topol Smoker's Tooth Polish now and save money as you watch your tobacco-stained teeth get cleaner and brighter.
I visited my old college roommate, and she had Cuticura soap in her bathroom. It's for skin that's part oily and part dry, so I tried it.
Cuticura medicated soap is designed especially for combination skin that's part oily and part dry. Cuticura deep cleans oily areas to remove dirt and excess oil, and its rich, creamy emollients help condition dry patches so skin feels soft, smooth, and moisturized. Use only as directed.
Cuticura makes my skin look and feel terrific.
Cuticura medicated soap for combination skin.
This is the Mutual Broadcasting System.
From the nation's capital, you're listening to The Larry King Show. Portions of this program are repeated in the Pacific Time Zone. Once again, Network Radio's #1 interviewer, Larry King.
Our guest, geometrician, educator, architect, designer, citizen of the world, R. Buckminster Fuller. His new book, Grunch of Giants, published by St. Martin's Press, Syracuse, New York. Hello.
Hello, Larry. In projecting towards our future, Mr. Fuller draws extensively from his knowledge of history. My question, what specific written historical works offer the greatest potential towards furthering the survival of our species, and why would he choose those works? I'll hang up and listen.
Okay, what historical works would you say people should read for the best knowledge of the origin of our species and where we're going? What would you recommend?
I'm very speculative about that myself. I would really read what I say in Critical Path about that subject. I talk about it a great deal.
In other words, you read your book, Critical Path.
I'm suggesting in Critical Path there's great probability that we were sent here by radio.
That we were what?
Sent here by radio. In other words, you can scan. We could really handle a whole lot of chemical controls by radio. And there's a good possibility we arrived here that way.
Norristown, Pennsylvania. Hello.
Yes, Norristown, yeah. Larry King, yeah. I would like to ask Mr. Buckminster about the educational system in the country. It's obviously, when we went into the central school situation 30, 40 years ago, it's obviously not working out. Whether or not it isn't time for us to go back to the neighborhood school where the children...
All right, we got it. What do you think of the neighborhood school versus the central school concept?
Well, I think that about schools per se, schools are a great social experience. But if you really want to learn something, that's in your own room.
It doesn't matter where the school is located then?
No.
Was Harvard a great school when you went there?
Harvard? Yes, it was. I however, find a great deal of fault with the continual dissemination of misinformation. I'll take a neighbor of Harvard's Massachusetts Institute of Technology in Cambridge. I was asked to speak to the faculty club at luncheon at MIT. They have a monthly talk to be given to the faculty club members. There were about 200 present. This is 1953. I said, are there any members of this audience here who do not personally see the sun going down in the evening? If so, please show your hands. There were no hands. I said, I think this is really shocking because you as certainly as scientists know that for 500 years we know the sun is not going down, the Earth is revolving to obscure the sun. So the horizon is rotated to obscure it. And you call yourself scientists, and you call yourself teachers, and you say to your own daughter, darling, look at the sun going down. For how long is it practical to keep on disseminating misinformation?
The sun does not go down.
That's right. So I find that our whole school system is full of it. Physics has found there are no solids. And we keep on, physics goes on, talks about solid state physics today.
Is Vienna, Virginia there? sorry we lost it. Houston, Texas. Hello.
He says he's been around the world 50 times, I think. Has he found any common threads among human nature? Is human nature about the same everywhere?
Good question.
I find human nature very, very much the same around the world, but the habits are different. For instance, I find in Japan, the people are water people, and they think of their island as a boat. And their Japanese came by the Japan current, probably from Java some thousands of years ago. And if you have a sailboat, you coil your ropes, not to be pretty, but so they be free to run when you want to let your sails down in a hurry. So Japan is run in that kind of way. And if you go to Japan and really live there, you get astonished and realize every fruit tree is wrapped with burlap, the whole tree, all the limbs. There's never a fruit tree in Japan which there's any fruit ever hits the ground. They always have a little basket below every single fruit. They conserve everything exactly what it's on a boat. Now, that's very different from human nature, though.
Yeah.
Purpose of Integrity Day is?
What's the purpose of Integrity Day?
The purpose of Integrity Day really seemed to me that humanity is at great crisis whether we're going to stay here anymore. And I had an operation in the hospital getting a new hip a year and a half ago. And when I came out of the anesthetics and so forth and had to lie there for several days, I began to say, we really are in peril. We have 50,000 bombs ready to go to destroy all humanity in no time at all. Humanity having apparently not much to do with it. Yet we are given as human beings minds which access the great design laws of the universe. And the best thing to say that we'd used it to develop those bombs, seemed to me, indicated maybe the invention of human beings is bad design. I said, I think the universe now has humanity in final examination whether we should go on any further. And I think the examination is not about whether corporations are good or whether political systems are good or economic systems. It's a question of whether the human is a good invention. Has the human got the integrity to daring the courage to go along with the truth as he really discovers that truth to be?
Toronto, Canada, for Bucky Fuller. Hello.
Hello. Can Mr. Fuller explain to me the Heisenberg uncertainty principle, and can it be used to contest a parking ticket in court?
The Heisenberg
principle?
Yeah. Do you know that principle?
Of indeterminism?
Yeah.
Yes.
Can you explain that briefly?
The answer fairly simply, as we begin to examine various things, particularly getting into the microcosm, and we put some light on in the microscope and so forth, so we can see the effect of that light on the subject, inspecting, alters the subject. We find that the Heisenberg principle is the object of investigation is altered by the investigation. So you never really find what it really is.
I think I understand that. Midland, Texas. Hello. Okay, we had a bad signal, but I did get part of it. Where could people write to you?
I'd say my office in Philadelphia, which is 3501 Market Street, Philadelphia 19104.
That's where your office is, even though you live in California.
Yeah.
Give me the address again.
3501 Market Street, Philadelphia, zip code 19104.
With Buckminster Fuller, Topeka, Kansas. Hello.
Yeah, there's an old German scientist years back in the 30s, who talked about orgone energy. I was wondering if Mr. Fuller had heard of him and what his thoughts were on orgone energy.
The German scientist in the 30s who talked about orgone energy. Have you heard of that?
Orgone energy? Yeah. I think it's afterwards really, I'm sorry to say, I don't think he was a real scientist. He had an orgone box, which young people could buy. It was a paperboard box lined with aluminum foil. And the radiation from the human being bounced off the aluminum back to the people, so he said, you're feeling orgone. And I feel this was a very, very cheap trick.
And he was not a scientist.
No.
We'll be right back with Buckminster Fuller after these messages.
Who says you have to fight City Hall?
Howard K. Smith, with a public service message from the Broadcasting Industry Council to improve American productivity.
We too often think of government as being an adversary of business and labor. But think of the gains that could be made if all three groups could learn to cooperate with each other.
At Peabody Barnes in Mansfield, Ohio, city governments stepped in to cooperate with labor and management so all could benefit.
To increase productivity, workers at this plant recommended a safe, well-protected street crossing to move goods between a plant and a warehouse. Management asked the city for help. What they expected was red tape, but what they got was the crossing they wanted. The city felt that by helping business, the city would also benefit itself. It is obvious that even in little ways, America works better when we all, business, employees, and government, listen, cooperate, and say to each other, let's work together.
Yes?
How do you do? I wonder if I might just take a moment of your time. You see, I have this lovely little case full of warning signals here. Perhaps you might like one for your husband.
Well, I don't know.
Now, just look at this, little honey. A real attention getter. Uncomfortable pressure or pain in the chest.
Oh, that's what my husband had last year.
In that case, perhaps I could interest you in a slight numbness in the shoulder or arms. A great icebreaker at parties.
No, he had one of those too.
Ah, well, here's a little beauty, a real showstopper. Dizziness and nausea.
No, he had that too.
All right, I've got one more warning signal left. How about shortness of breath,
No, those are all the same kind of things my husband had last year. Poor dear, he's not with us anymore.
Oh, well, I'm sorry,
But I haven't had them yet.
Oh, well.
Knowing the warning signals of a heart attack could save your life or the life of someone you love. If you don't know them, you just might be buying a lot of trouble. A message from the American Heart Association. We're fighting for your life.
From the nation's capital, you're listening to The Larry King Show. Once again, here's Larry.
The genius of Buckminster Fuller, Dallas, Texas. Hello.
Hello. Could he comment on the work of Amory Lovins and Gregory Bateson?
That's Emery Lovins, did you say? And Gregory Bateson.
Gregory Bateson I knew. I know Emery Lovins.
Would you comment on their work?
I don't have any comment on Emery Lovins because I really don't know what his work is. Bateson, I got to know, he was been one time the husband of Margaret Mead. And Bateson also had used the word synergy, which I use a great deal, which is a very old word, goes back to early Greek. But I gave it the name synergetics to what I consider to be the mathematics of universe. And Bateson, I found we got on very well. He's been interested in many of the same subjects. But I really didn't have a long time. I've only just actually met him physically once.
Okay, onward to Albuquerque, New Mexico. Hello.
Yes, I'm interested in geodesic domes, and I'm curious, does Buckminster Fuller live in a geodesic dome? What might he say to someone who's thinking about building one, and what place does he think they'll have in fulfilling our housing needs in the future? And I'll hang up.
All right, thank you. The geodesic dome, do you live in one?
I lived in one from 1961 to 1970. Then I moved out away from the town. I haven't been able to stay in any place long enough since to live in it.
What place do they have in the homes of the future?
I would say that they are going to be apparently used a very great deal. There's an industry, a really young industry going, but there are some thousands now being used for homes.
Levittown, Pennsylvania. Hello.
Good morning. My honor to talk to Bucky Fuller.
Morning.
I'm going to make a statement and a double-headed proposition. In utopia or oblivion, the element fuel, Bucky Fuller says, is alcohol. My background is I fired a steam locomotive for 14 years. I know a great deal about steam power. And in the Navy, I was in lighter than air. That is Zeppelins, blimps, and that sort of thing. I think these are two great untapped sources of power and energy. And I would ask Mr. Fuller to comment on the uses of these.
All right, the two are.
Hang up and
all right, the two are. Hold on, the two are alcohol, and the second one was what?
Steam power.
Steam power.
Locomotives.
Okay.
Steam is a way of using the energy. Alcohol is really a resource. And I think a great deal of the potential of alcohol. During World War II, one of the grand strategies of the Allies was to cut off Hitler's petroleum. and they were successful in doing so. And immediately the German scientists were put to work, and they've been doing scientific forestry, reforestation for a long time. They took the wood of the trees and converted it into 4 different types of alcohol, and from those alcohols they made high-octane gas. They made the synthetic rubber program, which upped the rubber tire expectation from 10,000 to 30,000 miles. They were not linked on energy. When the United States got into Germany and did some of the seizing of some of their work, they seized this work, but that's all disappeared. Recently, we find that apparently the oil company has been so strong, it's been able to wipe out all that information. During World War II, I was head mechanical engineer aboard of economic warfare, and I had in the Bureau of Standards 3 engines, a Chevrolet, a Ford, and a Plymouth. We ran them for 2 years on the dynamometer blocks on nothing but alcohol. They ran in a superior manner to running on gasoline.
With Buckminster Fuller, Pittsburgh. Hello.
Oh, I've got a question about the 1933 World's Fair and the Damaxian car incident there. But first, if I may, I'd like to ask what he thinks of underground housing, for instance, single-family housing, and whether the geodesic dome would be feasible in underground housing.
Would the geodesic dome be feasible in underground housing?
It's really unnecessary. If you're going in the ground, you've got your hole in the ground, and you could put a geodesic dome over the top of the hole if you wanted.
Or what's the question about the car?
Well, I read that, as most people know, there was an incident where somebody was killed by the Dymaxion car in 1933, and the story I heard was that the son of a prominent Chicago politician was racing the car and helped cause the tragic incident, and because the politician had some connections, made it look like the fault was the Dymaxion car, where in fact it wasn't, and caused the
all right,
death
what was
of the car.
What was the circumstances?
The fact is that the car was there and was in an accident right in front of the World's Fair. On board was the French Air Minister and a young man sent by the British to observe that car. They were in a hurry to get to the airport because they were going back on the Graf Zeppelin. Coming down the 10-lane highway by the fair, they were raced, as they very often are. Often the people, because I drove the cars for some 100,000 miles, I was continually being rubbernecked by the next car. It looked so very different. And they would get too near to you. Anyway, the car going by the fair, somebody started rubbernecking them on the outside of them, so the car, Dymaxion, moved in a lane. They kept moving in, and they finally were where they were parallel, and this car got too close, rubbernecking, and hit the Dymaxion car.
The son of a Chicago.
Both cars were hurt. The Dymaxion car turned upside down. The other car was removed. They had then the coroner's inquest because the driver of the Dymaxion car was killed, and they had a coroner's inquest. Not until a month later was the Englishman who was riding in the Dymaxion car, who was really sort of the Lindbergh of England. He didn't recover until a month later. Then they had the coroner's inquest again, and he testified about what was going on. Then at that point they discovered that this other, because apparently the Dymaxion had just turned over freak, because the other car had been removed and left the Dymaxion car just sitting there. Turned out it was then a politician, and he was a South Park commissioner, and the coroner ruled it was just an unavoidable accident of both.
All right. Back with our remaining moments with Bucky Fuller after this message.
Hi, I'm Lee Arnold on a country road over the Mutual Broadcasting System. Join us this weekend for our 3-hour country music spectacular. Our concert feature from Billy Bob's will feature Ed Bruce, and we'll talk with Crystal Gale, Ronnie McDowell, and Tammy Wynette. Our album review will feature the new album from Dolly Parton. We've got all our usual weekly features, too. That's this weekend over many of these stations. Lee Arnold on a country road.
1 out of 11 American women will develop breast cancer. I'm Dr. Gloria Frankel. As a physician and a diagnostic radiologist, I know that the key to saving lives is early detection. A mammogram, an x-ray of the breast, can uncover cancers long before they can be felt. Finding them early at least doubles the chance of survival. Your doctor will advise you when you should have a mammogram. Through mammography, we can uncover cancer before it's too late.
A public service from the American College of Radiology.
From the nation's capital, you're listening to The Larry King Show. Once again, here's Larry.
Arlington, Virginia, hello. Or is this Runnymede, New Jersey?
Runnymede, hello, how you doing? I'd like to know his comments on the fact that they say we only use 10% of our brain. Does he think the rest is to make up for the ones that burn out as time goes on and replace them for those purposes, or is there all these things, that capacity that we just haven't harnessed?
I didn't catch. Do that again for me.
Okay, I'm saying we use 10% of our brain.
Oh, we use 10% of our brain, yes.
Is the rest of the 90% left to make up for brain cells that died since they aren't replaced?
What happens to the other 90%?
Right.
Yeah, I don't really know anything about how those statistics are arrived at, what the measurement means now, so I can't answer that question.
Okay, fine. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, nurse. You're not sure it's 10%.
Yeah.
No. New York City, hello.
Good morning. Mr. Fuller, two quick questions. Number one, do you think that the Jewish nation-state of Israel and the Jewish people should be assimilated and therefore eradicated from the earth?
Why, sir?
Well, doesn't he talk about nation-states joining together?
Why would you ask a question about destroying a people?
Well, will it not destroy the earth?
Sir, you're talking to a genius. Please, you're weird. Columbia, Maryland, hello.
Yes, sir. I'd like to ask Mr. Fuller first a kind of a statement. I've always believed that technology is always far outstripping reality. In this time and day, in his opinion, where are we years, decades, or centuries between the two, between technology and morality?
Technology has always been ahead of morality, and it's been said that technological advances are tremendous, but humankind may have only advanced 50 years. How far ahead is technology over morality, or as you might term it, integrity?
I don't see any way you can make such a measurement, oh man. No, possibly. You'd have to just make some kind of guesstimate.
What would your guesstimate?
The technology won't work if it's not truthful. Technology only works if nature lets it work. If nature, I say there's no such thing, for instance, as artificial. If nature won't let you do it, you can't do it. If nature lets you do it, then it's natural.
Seattle, Washington, hello.
Yes, Mr. Fuller, what do you see as, if there is a possibility, of halting or slowing down the seemingly unstoppable momentum of human greed, which produces such wanton destruction of the environment, air, water, pollution, and nuclear weapons production? What's going to change human greed?
Good question.
I'd say, I'd question whether it really is greed. Greed, I think, has been bred. I'll start off with this concept there's not enough to go around, so those who get to be successful then get scared of losing it, and they begin to hoard it. And then this is a disease that does get to be greed. I can see greed then being very, very destructive, as you yourself note. I think, however, this is not fundamental in humans. I don't think that little children is born greedy.
What do you think of Secretary Watt's statement that it's necessary for us to use up all of the resources on the planet because of the Messiah's coming and because of Jesus' coming in the future? We won't need any of these resources anyway.
He didn't say it's necessary. That's a misquote. He did not say it's necessary to use all the resources. Do you believe in the Messiah coming?
I didn't hear that. Who said that this was correct?
Secretary Watt.
Secretary Watt?
Watt.
I don't have any statement about it whatsoever.
Washington, D.C., hello.
This might follow up nicely behind that. May I quote from the last page of Grunch of Giants? The only happily promising recourse of each human individual is to our highest intellectual facilities and their ego-deflated, unselfishly loving preoccupation with comprehensivity and our employment of the most powerful tools of all. And Mr. Fuller lists 7 things there, and the very last thing is the the individual discovery of God by a vast majority of human individuals. Not the discovery of religions, but now condense this, the discovery that each individual has a direct hotline to God.
Yeah, I'm reading it myself.
Okay. The last word in the book is God.
The last word in the book is God, right?
Right on.
You want him to comment on that?
No, I just wanted to toss that in. I felt like it.
I think that what I say there is self-evident.
You may not be religious.
I don't think I have to say anything more about it.
You may not be religious, but you do believe in God. You may not be religious, but you do believe in God.
I don't believe anything I said earlier. I'm overwhelmed by the evidence for great intellectual integrity operative in the universe. As a scientist, I can't miss it. There it is in the great law of gravity and so forth. There it is in Ohm's law. There it is in what we find of all the great scientific laws.
Do you wake up every day trying to learn something? Do you wake up every day trying to learn something?
I wake up every day full of eagerness, yes, about answers to questions that I find myself formulating.
Thank you, Bucky. Thank you for coming. Our guest has been an incredible human being, R. Buckminster Fuller. Mr. Fuller was accorded the Medal of Freedom this year. He has been given in his lifetime 48 honorary doctorates, been invited to speak at 550 colleges and universities around the world. His new book is Grunch of Giants. It is published by St. Martin's Press. He will speak tomorrow night at 7:30 here in Washington at the Shoreham, and all day Saturday in New York City at Hunter College.